most men try to silence the message. You'll never change. You've ruined everything. You're a fraud. See, you don't need advice right away. You just simply need to break the silence. I want you to respond with a different voice. Today, we're going to talk about escaping the relapse guilt trap and how to bounce back stronger from a relapse. So if you're watching this, I want you to take a deep breath. If you're listening to this too, not because everything is okay, but because you're safe here. You relapsed again. You probably didn't plan and may not even remember how it started. One moment you were just tired or stressed or lonely, and the next, it happened. Now you're here, sitting in silence, feeling that familiar ache of regret and wondering what this means. Does it mean you're weak? Does it mean that you're going to start over? Does it mean that all that effort and time was wasted? Well, let me offer a different perspective that's rooted in my many years of walking this path, not just on my own, but with men just like you. Relapse isn't the end. It's a message, a teacher, an invitation. What if your relapse is trying to tell you something? What if it was whispering, slow down, something hurts, you're running on empty, you've been carrying more than you're meant to? See, most men try to silence the message. You drown it in shame and you punish yourself with silence. Or worse, with more slips, with more of that behavior you don't want to engage in. But the men who grow are the ones who listen. Because behind every relapse is something that matters. There's a need that you've been ignoring. There's a boundary that you've stopped honoring. There's a part of you asking to be understood, not condemned. You see, recovery or rebooting, it isn't a straight line. It's a series of lessons. And relapse, as painful as it is one of the most important teachers that you'll ever meet. Shame doesn't work because it tells you that slipping means that you're a failure. Compassion says you're human. Now let's understand what happened. Shame says hide, don't tell anyone. Just keep pretending you're okay. Compassion says speak up, you're not alone. Someone will meet you where you are. Shame says you'll never change. Compassion says change is possible, even now. So in my experience, men who stay stuck in cycles of relapse aren't lazy. You're not lazy, you're not broken. You're just locked in a pattern that you've never been taught to understand. And when you start learning to see relapse as data, not as an identity, everything changes. Paying attention to data would teach you that a relapse isn't random. No relapse is. It's simply the result of a system that needs adjusting. When a man slips, I always encourage him to ask 3 simple questions, okay? The first one is, what was I feeling in the hours before the relapse? Was I feeling overwhelmed or angry or lonely? Secondly, what was I doing differently from my best days? Did I stay up late? Did I skip a workout? Or did I avoid a hard conversation? Thirdly, what part of me needed attention and didn't get it? Did I need rest? Did I need support? Some sort of self-care? Did I even need validation? Your answers don't have to be perfect when you do this, but your willingness to ask them is where healing begins. So many men believe that healing is about stringing together the longest streak of pornography and masturbation possible, but true recovery isn't about counting days. It's about counting and being aware of the moments where you come back to yourself. It's about counting wins. It's about the nights you choose to pause instead of spiral. The mornings you wake up after a slip and you choose grace over shame. The moments you reach out and say, this is hard. This is so hard. I don't know if I can do this, but you know what? I'm still here. That's progress. And it isn't measured by perfection. Every time you return to your values, to your honesty, your humility, your hope, you're becoming the man that you want to be. And yes, sometimes that journey can seem really slow. Sometimes it's 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, but it's still forward, even if it's by 1 step. Listen, brother, I know you care deeply. You care about your wife, your kids, your values, your future. And I know many people may think that because you have this problem, you don't. No, you care. And because you care, your relapse hits hard. But your caring isn't a flaw, it's your fuel. It's proof that you haven't given up, that you can't give up, because the man that you're becoming matters too much. You don't need to carry this alone. You don't need to prove your strength by suffering in silence. What you need is kindness. What you need is structure. What you need is understanding and a safe place to grow. And that's what I want for you. I know how heavy it can feel in the hours or the minutes after a relapse. That emotional fog, the racing thoughts, the shame trying to take over your body like smoke in a freaking locked room. You don't need to rush through this moment. Believe it or not, this isn't about fixing it right away or pretending like nothing happened. It's about meeting yourself with compassion and choosing one step, just one, that begins the return back to your values. So here's a path, something practical that you can walk slowly and gently. First, name what happened. Take a deep breath. Grab a notebook or open a blank page and write it out without filtering or judging. Not just, I watched porn, right? Write out where you were, when it happened, what you feel in your heart that led up to it emotionally, what you told yourself right before the slip, the dialogue that happened, what you felt immediately afterward. You're not documenting sin, all right? You're mapping a moment so you can understand it later. And when you give your relapse form and language, it begins to loosen its grip. Darkness loses power when exposed to light, even if that light is just your own awareness. Secondly, trace the problem. Now look back, not just the moment of the relapse, but at the 12 to 24 hours before it, and then ask yourself, physically, was I tired or fatigued mentally, angry, anxious, lonely? Did I skip my workout, my morning routine? Did I skip my journaling? Was I possibly numbing something I didn't want to feel? Or was I feeling misunderstood or unseen by someone I care about? Was I reacting to a fight, a trigger, or a disappointment? So your relapse, it didn't just happen. There was a pattern, a progression, a story, and you have every right to understand that story without shaming yourself for it. So you're not weak. You are learning to read your life. The third is let someone in. This might actually be the most challenging part, but brother, you are not meant to carry this silently. Shame grows stronger in solitude, and connection doesn't require a perfect report. It requires honesty. So, send a message in the group, even just one sentence, and you should have an accountability group. If you don't have one, we can provide you with one. I slipped today. Here's what I think happened. Or text your accountability partner and say, I don't have the words for it yet, but I just need someone to know that this is happening. If you've built trust with your spouse or your mentor, consider a brief, clear admission of, I just want you to know that I had a setback in this area. I also want you to know that I'm processing it and I am committing to doing what is necessary. See, you don't need advice right away. You just simply need to break the silence. And once you do, the weight starts to lift. The fourth is reset one rhythm. When you relapse, your nervous system gets disrupted. So you might feel disoriented, drained, or you might feel like you're off track in ways that extend beyond the behavior itself. Now is not the time to build an entirely new recovery plan, right? Now is the time to return to the one grounding rhythm, one thing you know that helps you come back to center. I call them non-negotiables or a non-negotiables, right? For some people, it could be a workout. For some people, it could be a meditation session and going back to that habitually. For some, it could be journaling, picking up your journal and writing about what you need most right now. For some, it's just going back to sleep at a regular time. They're like, as long as I'm in bed by this time, I'm good. Again, for many others, it is sitting in stillness, even for a few minutes, and telling themselves, I'm allowed to begin again. I give myself permission to begin again. Don't be impressive. Try to be present. One ritual, one act of care, one gentle return. That's enough for now. The fifth is speak kindly to yourself. I can't emphasize this enough. You are not your relapse. You are not your worst day. You are not defined by the moments that you lost control. You are a man in motion, a man becoming, a man trying, sometimes failing, but still willing. And that willingness is sacred. So please, when the voice of judgment starts whispering again, you'll never change. You've ruined everything. You're a fraud. I want you to respond with a different voice. One that sounds like the truth. One that sounds like love. One that says, I am learning. I am worthy of healing. I can begin again. See, you are still worthy of love, peace, freedom. You still have integrity. And even in this low moment, especially in this low moment, those things are still possible. You are not alone in this. Somewhere right now, another brother is listening to this or watching this, and they're feeling that same ache, wondering if this is the end. But it's not. Let's just call it the middle. The part of the story where you remember that you are still becoming. You're still learning what doesn't work so you can choose what does. You're releasing perfection so that you can embrace consistency. You're walking through fire, but you're walking. And that, brother, is sacred ground. You don't need to do this alone anymore. So what I would like you to do is visit the link in the description and book a call with someone on our team. Everybody on our team has been through this journey. Or you can just drop something in the comments, send me a message, and just tell me where you're at in this journey. And that's what I'm here for, to talk. I'm JK, your brother in the struggle.